Hey friends, and welcome back to my channel. This is 155 books and my name is Shannon, and today we're going to have a little discussion about toxic productivity. So I've had all of these thoughts kind of going around my head recently, mainly because I've been reading a really great book called The Good Enough Life by Avram Alpert, which is a sort of non-fiction philosophy book on, the idea that greatness and hierarchies and a competitive social order is kind of what's ruining the world, and looks at the ways of fixing that in terms of trying to live more of a good enough life. And then I just started thinking about a lot of the productivity content creators I follow and have been watching and have been going to when I myself am feeling a bit stuck, especially with my mental health, and how actually it's been feeding into this negative cycle for myself and has actually been making my life and my mental health worse. So you may have noticed that some of my more recent videos have actually been mainly book-related videos, and I've kind of stopped making the self-improvement, growth, productivity style videos that I did kind of want to venture my channel towards, along with the book videos as well. And that is because I kind of felt a bit false making videos like that when I myself was struggling. I have been ebbing and flowing, but yeah, I was kind of struggling with burnout and anxiety. That's why a lot of the videos I was doing towards the end of me stopping making them were reset videos. But yes, I've now come to the conclusion that, like I said, a lot of the productivity content creators and YouTubers that I was watching, their ideals and what they are promoting, for me personally, is not healthy. So I've realised that there are three main reasons or things that come from these productivity YouTubers and their recommendation videos and stuff that for me is what I think is wrong and leading into, like I say, a bad state of mental health rather than, actually bettering yourself. So I'm just going to go through those and then come to a kind of conclusion at the end on sort of slow productivity and slow living, because I kind of think that that is the way forward. But yes, it's interesting that I now think that a lot of these people and creators, as much as I love them, are kind of promoting a kind of toxic productivity. So first and foremost, I want to talk about inclusivity, because it's not. I mean, there's no discussion around it. A lot of the content creators, the kind of lifestyle they are promoting is not inclusive. It's a lifestyle geared towards young, able-bodied, well-off people. It doesn't take into consideration physical or mental disabilities. A lot of the time the lifestyle you will see them promoting includes eating really healthy food and all of these things that actually cost a lot of money. Not a crazy amount of money, but it doesn't really take into consideration different people's backgrounds, their income, and whether or not they can afford this to then live the happy, productive lifestyle that they are promoting. Another very big issue I have with this idea of productivity and how I think it's kind of toxic is it kind of expects perfectionism. And I'm one of these people that actually doesn't believe perfectionism or perfection does not exist, and for you to strive towards being perfect all the time, you're constantly setting yourself up to fail. And this is where I was going wrong, and where I was implementing all these things that people were suggesting, like habit trackers, weekly tracking, and reviewing your week and your months, and it it is very toxic, because as soon as something bad happens or you don't reach those goals or you hit a bump in the road, you're feeding into this idea that you are a failure, and then you start to question your self-worth, and that's just not healthy. For me personally, rather than ticking these boxes and reviewing your week and seeing how well you did, to me it was like massively negative, because I could never see the positive side of it. It was always, well, there's one thing I didn't tick off, or out of a week I only did my morning routine like 4 times in the week, so I didn't do it properly. And then it just feeds into, like I say, this negativity and negative mindset, this idea that you're never like fully reaching your true potential, and it's not allowing you to accept you for who you are. And that's not right. And another thing that's kind of connected to this perfectionist kind of ideal is that it just doesn't allow for life, because life has so many setbacks and things going wrong and things that are out of your control. So when those things happen, and if it sets you back, you then, again, it's just feeding into the negative mindset, and I'm just not here for it. And the third big thing that I've noticed, and again it was something that I personally was doing, that is involved in this sort of like toxic productivity, is how they promote self-care. So obviously a lot of productivity YouTubers these days do quite rightly acknowledge the fact that to be productive you also need to be able to rest, and that includes self-care. However, the issue with that is a lot of the time the way they are promoting self-care is it's another task on your list to just tick off. And again, it's something that people often say to like schedule in, make sure you schedule in self-care. But to me, that's not how self-care works. Yes, there's certain things I try to do every day that help me function as a human being, but I don't set them as like a list of self-care goals that I have to achieve to be able to be fully rested before I can be productive again. It's this idea that you have to do the self-care just so you can get back to being productive. Whereas for me, self-care is actually one of my favourite things in life. It's what life is for. Self-care is spending time with your loved ones, with friends, family, socialising, getting out in nature, reading. And as soon as you make it another task on your list of things, it doesn't become self-care. It becomes a task, and it takes the enjoyment away. And again, I was finding that even like with my reading, I was like, oh, I have to make sure I read today for like self-care. But it wasn't me being like, oh, you know what, I'm in the mood to read, I want to read, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go read. It just became like, oh, I have to read. That's not fun. That's not self-care. No. So those are my main sort of like 3 problems that I've realised, like I said, that were kind of creating this toxic productivity in my own life. And like I said, it was making me worse rather than better. And then I kind of came to the conclusion that the way to fix all of these things is I have been watching a few more videos on slow productivity, but again, it still has the same kind of deep-rooted issues. You're doing the same things, but just sort of like slower. So that's why I think actually a move towards slow living is better, with obviously bits and time in between your days and your weeks to be productive. But the main part of your life is to just slow down, enjoy things. You can do both. You can have slow living and be productive. You don't have to be productive like productivity all the way, with a little bit of sprinkle of self-care here and there so you don't burn out. That's just not the life for me. It's really not. So yes, once I finish the Good Enough Life, I think I'm gonna maybe make another video on the things I've implemented in my life more recently to be kind of where I am now, which is a great place. I feel very happy, I'm very comfortable, I'm very glad with the way my life is going and how I am doing things, and I'm not following all these other things that people are telling me to. So I hope you enjoyed my little ramble and rant about how I now feel about sort of this idea of toxic productivity. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But thank you so much for watching as always, and I will see you soon in my next video. Bye!